There's no majority.
Okay, think it's working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, so absolute value. Absolute value stuff is really simple. There's basically one principle you got to keep in mind, which is this. If I say the absolute value of something is equal to, I'm just going to make up a number, say 6. If I say the absolute value of something is 6, there's two possibilities for the thing I was talking about, right? Either that thing was 6, right? Or that thing was -6. That's it in a nutshell right there. That's the main idea you have to understand. Are there any questions on why that's the case, or? Okay, good. So let's do, there's two on here that are very straightforward, which is, I guess there's one extra thing. So once you have that idea, like you understand that, the only other thing you got to really keep in mind is, will my answer make sense? Like when I get an answer, does it actually satisfy the equation that I'm trying to solve? So like this first one, the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 5. What should be my first step there? Subtract the 2. Minus 2 from both sides. Okay, now I have absolute value of something is equal to 3. That means there's two possibilities. Either x is 3 or x is -3. And we just ask ourselves, does that answer make sense? If I plug 3 back in, is the absolute value of 3 plus 2 equal to 5? Yeah, it is. Okay. Now look at the one next to it. You might go, oh, B is just as easy.
No, it's not.
No, it's Rita knows.
You would
Says
be
I
thinking.
detect a trap. Mr. Toadman, you know what he taught us? Mr. Toady,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Taylor?
Yes.
Yes. He tells us to watch out for traps. You like that movie, right, Nikita? Where Mr. Toadman says, it's a trap!
That's not a toad. Isn't it like a squid-like thing?
What movie is
It's
it?
a toad.
It's Star Wars.
Oh.
Admiral something.
Admiral Toadman, I think is his name.
Admiral Toad.
Okay, so traps happen for both sides. You get -4. Now, a lot of people at this step go, oh, then x is 4 or -4. No. If you plug that back in, you'd be, wait a second, 4 plus 7 is not 3. So what you might go back and go, well, oh, wait a second. The absolute value of a thing cannot equal a negative number. It's not possible. This answer is no solution.
You can't do it.
You can't do that.
Oh, yeah. My favorite guy in Star Wars.
Jar Jar Binks.
No.
Mr. Toadman, Jar Jar Binks.
They did the same thing again.
That should be all schooling. Write a 40-page essay on why Jar Jar Binks is the greatest character in the history of all literature and film.
I would rather fail school.
I would gladly write that.
Jar Jar Binks.
No. Why? What?
Okay. One more. Look at C. We'll do one more because A and B are both sort of similar because the only thing inside the absolute value is the x by itself. What if you have a whole expression inside the absolute value? How does that change things? Well, it comes back to this idea. This is going to be important. So, for C, what you got to do is go, well, if the absolute value of x plus 3 is 7, what are my two options?
7 and -7.
Yeah, either x plus 3 is just 7, or x plus 3 is -7. Those are the two possibilities. So we're one step away from the actual answer, which would be solve this. You get 4. Solve this. You get -10. And then, of course, it never hurts to plug it back in and see, does that actually make sense? 4 plus 3 makes 7, good. Negative 10 plus 3 makes negative 7, whose absolute value is actually 7. So there actually are two answers to that question. Okay. In your head?
Yes, I was talking about how the heater sounded like someone brushing their teeth with an electric toothbrush.
Oh, I thought you said you were hearing that in your own head. That would be terrible. As long as it's an external noise, that's fine. Once you leave. Okay, 18. Let's talk about distances. April, where's your stuff? Maybe take some notes or something. 18A. It says write an absolute value equation that is equivalent to the given statement. I'm going to start you off with something much easier here, which is, who knows the answer to this? How far apart are the numbers 5 and 8? 3. What mathematical operation tells us about the distance between two numbers? Subtraction, right? Now this distance is 3, okay? And I could have written 8 minus 5 equals 3. So what does this have to do with absolute values? Well, what if I wanted to be like kind of be able to have those numbers in any order? What I could do is just use absolute values, and then I would be able to write it either way. I could write 5 minus 8, absolute value is 3, or 8 minus 5 and absolute value is 3. So what am I getting at here? What I'm talking about for 18A is if I say that x is 2 units away from 7. Okay, well, here's 7 then. So where could x live? X has 2 possible homes. Either 9 or 5. So x could either live here or x could live here. So what I can say is that, so how do I write the phrase, the distance between x and 7?
9 minus 7.
This expression here says the distance between x and 7 is 2. So this is the answer. Now, by the way, what's the solution? What's the solution to this equation? 9 and 5. We feel okay about that? Okay, let's look at B. X and 3 are 10 units apart. So imagine our number line, there's 3 and there's x, and the distance between those two dudes is 10. So how do we write that? So this guy here means the distance between x and 3. What does this symbol translate into? Is, right? Equals means is. So the absolute value lets us talk about, the distance between these two quantities, and then the equal sign says is, and then we get 10. Do we feel like that makes sense? You sure? Okay, lit, we can move on. I do want to go over a weird one from the next page, 19. Buy Leap and Lemurs. Saves Lemurs.
Oh, is this a Twitch sponsor?
Huh?
Is this a sponsor?
That's the Twitch sponsor. Monster Soda Pops. Leap and Lemurs. You ever pour Monster Soda Pops into your cereal for that extra boost? of energy? No?
I'd rather sleep.
All right, so on the next page, what do you guys think about A?
I
Will that
like
one
it.
be like, what?
I like it.
Will that one be like extra challenging, you think? Well, should be fine, right? So 19A is going to be very, very similar to like 17C, where all you have to do is you got to go, I got my absolute value of something equals a number. And you're just going to set up two equations and say either that thing equals the number or that thing equals the opposite of the number. So what I want to look at is 19C. That's a weird one. That is a weird one. Because there's an x outside the absolute value. So what do we do?
Panic.
Panic. Hopefully not. No, what you do in math a lot of times is you say, well, I'm just going to take the method that I know has worked for simpler problems and just try to apply it and see what happens. Just kind of hope for the best. Let's see what happens. Absolute value of x minus 8 is equal to 5x. Okay, so there's two possibilities. Either x minus 8 is equal to 5x, or x minus 8 is equal to negative 5x.
Wow.
Let's see if that works.
Okay.
What's this going to give me? Again, negative 8. I'm going to subtract x from both sides, right? 5 banana minus 1 banana make.
Full banana.
Or banana.
So this gets me an answer of negative 2. Okay.
Awesome.
What do you think about that? Is that a valid answer?
Banana valuable.
Absolutely Not.
Never.
No.
Plug it back in. It would read the absolute value of negative 2 minus 8 is equal to 5 times negative 2, which would say the absolute value of negative 10 is equal to negative 10. You'd be like, bruh.
No.
You can see why our method produced that answer, though, because, right, if you ignore the absolute values, then negative 2 is a solution. But the original question we're answering does have absolute values. So you actually have to reject this answer. It's not valid. Let's solve this one. Minus x. So you get negative 8 equals negative 6x. Negative 5 banana minus 1 banana make negative 6 banana.
You have negative banana.
If you were a banana broker, say you're selling futures or you're shorting some bananas.
Negative banana.
You guys ever shorted bananas?
Yes.
All the time.
Like
Of
short
course.
circuit.
It's my daily routine.
No, shorting bananas would be like if Jaden wanted some bananas, but I didn't have any, I'd say, Sean, can I borrow 5 bananas? You say, okay, I'll pay you back later. So then I borrow the bananas from you and I sell them to Jaden today of course, I'm hoping that in the future the price of bananas drops because then I can buy them back at a lower price and sell and then give you back what I borrowed. That's called shorting. You ever heard of
That's
that?
how you have negative.
Mhm.
Negative banana.
So then, in the meantime, we kind of both had negative banana until I bought it back. Of course, if the price goes up, I'm out of luck. I'm going to lose money on that investment. Right, guys?
Yeah.
It's like bananas
Banana shorting.
Why would you short 5 banana?
to make
You
money.
would make like
Like
$1.
So if the price drops, I make money.
That's
Like,
$1 you didn't have before, Sean.
That is true.
or I could have bought puts on the bananas too. That's an option. But then Jaden would not have gotten bananas. So
Just scam.
anyway, sorry. 4/3.
Banana.
4/3 is the.
Or I will delete your hard drive.
There you go.
Shouldn't it be 3/4?
No,
No.
no.
8
8
divided by
by
6.
6 is 4.
Yeah, it's 8 divided by 6, not 6 divided by 8. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I had to point it out to you.
Oh, I got it now.
Spoiler alert. I kind of spoilered it. Sorry, I circled it so emphatically. You're like, oh, that must be a legitimate answer. It is, because if you plug it in,
Whoa.
the absolute
You do
value
the work.
of 4/3 minus 8, That would be 4/3 minus 24/3, which would be negative 20/3. And then the right side of the equation is 5 times 4/3. You can see that this equation actually does balance out fine. That's pretty neato burrito, right? Maybe? Maybe not. Who knows?
-15.
Life is a
plus
mystery.
3 is -12. 9.
We're in a constant search for meaning. You, Taylor? Taylor knows.
No work.
Julia?
I like mine. I don't.
Are you thinking about your
You might
your
like
training?
it, but it's very wrong.
It's not that wrong.
You'll get it figured out.
I got one of them right for the option.
Okay.
How is it
The
that
5
wrong?
is not the correct option.
I know that, but I said I did the math right.
One last
So
thing.
how is it wrong?
Because you didn't get the right answer.
You said it's completely wrong or something.
20. A, B, C.
20?
Okay. Oh, we were on 19.
Oh,
I am so zoned out today.
Listen, you are so.
it is
Great.
like
This.
How do you know so many things?
X equals 6 over.
I mean, math is satisfying because it gives you a real answer.
Because that's the same as saying.
Most of the time, until you get into those imaginary numbers.
You're at a classroom and hear me.
Are you in both classes? I'm in both classes. My collection of knowledge. So that
I want your knowledge on hard
I was
drive.
dying by this my brain.
I was in two math
keep
classes.
bringing some knowledge.
Okay. Not sure if you heard Alyssa. She made a comment about the first one that basically was like, isn't this one like pretty quick solve? The answer is yeah. How about this one? Is
Yeah.
this one going to be, say we rate these in difficulty. So which one of these is the hardest?
Definitely.
It might not be obvious.
Number
Number 1.
Never trust.
This is the hardest one.
Yes.
Okay. So let's knock them out real quick. So watch. The point I'm trying to make with this set of problems here is that when you're dealing with an equation and it has these like rational expressions, little fractiony expressions, x is inside the fractions. Sometimes they're very easy. Sometimes they're more challenging. You kind of have to build like an intuition for how much work am I expecting to do to get to solve the problem. So let's look at the first one. So you can cross multiply, but if you want to be kind of like, maybe the word's not technical, but really, ultimately what you're really doing here is you're multiplying both sides by x and by 2. Does that make sense, that statement there? That's really what cross multiplying is. Watch what happens after I do that. X divided by x makes 1. So what I'm left over with is 2 times 3. And over here, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So I just have x times x. Now, isn't that exactly what you get if you cross multiply? Cross multiplication is certainly a useful little tool to think about, but just wanted to remind you that it's nothing magic. It's just multiplying both sides of an equation with the same expression. So what's the answer to this question?
Plus or minus square root.
Plus or minus the square root of 6. There's 2 answers. Positive root 6 and negative root 6.
Yes.
Cool beans. How about this one? So someone in the last class pointed out that this one, you could think of it like cross multiplication if you wanted to. You could think of this as x over x plus 1 equals 3 over 1, right? That's an option. And then cross multiply, I like what Alyssa said, which is multiply both sides by the quantity right? X plus 1 divided by x plus 1 makes 1. So the left side just has x. And the right side is 3 times x plus 1, which gives us 3x plus 3. Don't forget, sometimes people put a little times x plus 1 without the parentheses, and then they forget that you're actually multiplying. The 3 is multiplying the entirety of x plus 1, not just the x. So make sure you Make sure that's not a 1, basically. That would be the mistake that people sometimes make, is they have 3x plus 1. Okay, let's solve this. Maybe minus 3x from both sides. You have negative 2x equals 3. Neato burrito?
You keep doing that.
What?
Oh, it's just I forget the fraction and flip it the other way. So it was 2/3 instead of 3 seconds.
Uh-oh. Be careful.
There's a,
You have a
wait, how do you have the max? Isn't
Sun
it
might come out.
negative 1 and positive 1?
You won't, you just have
Ah, the
X,
side-
so you get
outside's
1
too bright.
plus 1x equals X.
You never know. Okay, last one.
Oh, yeah, you can move that. Oh, yeah, you're right. I was
Move around and
thinking
plug
about this one.
What should be our first step?
Multiply each side by X.
Well,
You could do that, it's certainly fine, but as a general strategy, when you see fractions in your equation as, one of my corporate sponsors is the Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo, no more tears, right? No more tears. How do you get the Mr. Fraction make us cry? So we say, no more tears. How do we get rid of all the tears? You say, what can I do? Is there one step I can do that would get rid of all the fractions? And then AJ gave us that answer. It's, what if I multiplied everything in this equation by x? Well, what does that achieve? Well, x times 1 over x is 1. X times 1 is x. And then on the right side, we have x times x. How do we feel about that? Feel okay about it? Okay. Yeah, it's odd.
Okay, now it's lunch, right?
What if you go for 20
So
Oh, we finally got one.
You're fine.
the rest is,
I need I.
I like 20. Number 20 is cool.
you move everything over and then you can use quadratic formula.
Oh, I did that one right too.
Yeah, let's go.
For the millions of Twitch viewers at home, it would be 1 plus or minus the square root.
Hey, bro. Okay. Why is it
You're gonna have to
I have no
start
idea.
streaming your class.
How many?
900?